You know, just
All right, Jim, take it away.
good afternoon. Detroit in black and white from Ramsey's in Trenton. We're outside today. It's a little bit windy, but we're happy to be out here. The river's behind us, and we're just kind of relaxing on a nice Thursday afternoon. Jim Nardoni, Alan Langle, formerly of the Washington Post. Jim Nardoni, we're waiting on Adolph Mongo, and Michael Hawkins, Chief of Police for the City of Trenton. We've been with Chief Hawkins over the last couple months, trying to solve I guess it's about a 13 this year. It'll be a 13-year-old murder. Detroit, girl from Detroit, Tanisha Edison. So it sounds like the chief may be making some headway, and it seems like there's some people out there that are maybe getting a little nervous. Is that?
Yeah, I would say, and some of it, I would say thank you to the podcast here. Just conversations that I've had in the last week. People have asked if I was the guy on the video talking about it. So I know the message is getting around. People are seeing it, maybe getting a little nervous, but we've got some more interviews scheduled for the next week, and things are trending in the right direction.
And tell us a little bit about what you've been doing to sort of shake the trees and get some stuff cooking.
Well, again, this case was about a black female that was murdered and washed up here in Trenton back in 2011. So it became a cold case. I reopened it a year or so ago, probably about a year and a half now. Been working on it diligently with other partners and other agencies. So we've done some polygraphs. I don't know if last time I was on here, I think we talked about it. We have given a polygraph to somebody in the case. We're going to offer up a few more. We've also partnered with Crime Stoppers. I've got flyers, door hangers that we are going to actively put out here in the next few weeks in the area of Plymouth and Greenfield. That's the area that she normally frequented at the time. But we're ramping up the investigation.
She's a Detroiter, and she washed ashore up in Trenton. And what year was that again?
So that was 2011, September of 2011. She washed up.
She was
unidentified. Yeah, she was unidentified, naked body, no identification, no anything. It sat as a not only a homicide, but an unidentified person for several years, really 10, 11 years, until we were able to use some advancements in technology when we reopened the case with some DNA, and were able to identify her. Unfortunately, the family or people surrounding her didn't come forward right away to report her missing based on her lifestyle. She'd worked the streets, was into narcotics, but nothing matched up. And her final missing report happened years and years after she was actually found.
So can I
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say.
No, I was going to ask a question of you, Alan, but go ahead.
I was going to say, how cooperative has the family been, and what have you been able? What kind of interaction have you had with her family? Try to get to the bottom of all this.
Yeah, it's been split, and when I say family, it's really an extended family. Some that are blood relatives, some that are just assumed relatives because they shared so much time together. But it's been mixed. There are some people that are really upset and really helpful, and there are some people that are surprised that I've contacted them this long and wonder how I even found them. So it's almost as if they didn't want to be found at times.
So Alan is also the founder of Deadline Detroit. Didn't mean to cut you short on that, Alan.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
And why I say that, tell us a little bit about, I'm going to interview you for a second. Tell us about Tickle the Wire, because I've done some research on it. Tell us a little bit about Tickle the Wire. The chief might be interested in some of our listeners out there.
Well, I was at the Washington Post, and before that, the Detroit News. I covered a lot of federal law enforcement over the years with the FBI, DEA, Justice Department. So when I left the Washington Post, I started in 2008. I started TickleTheWire.com, and some people would initially laughed at the name, but For those in law enforcement, it was basically tickling the wire was a way of if the FBI had a wire up and they wanted people to talk, they might do something like make an arrest or float something in the media about something, and hoping that people would get on the phone and say, "Oh my gosh, they just arrested Joe. You better shut up." And those, if you've listened to wiretaps, you realize people initially often say, "Hey, shut up, our phone could be tapped." Then 10 minutes later, they're like, "Yeah, so I'm going to murder this guy," and they forget. But anyways, I started reporting on federal law enforcement news, and it's really a mix of everything. It's a mix of good, bad. When agents get in trouble, we write about it. If agents do good things, I remember being early on. It might have been 2008, 2009. I was at the FBI Christmas party at headquarters, and I introduced myself to Bob Mueller, and I said, "Hi, I'm a former reporter with the Washington Post, and I've got TickleTheWire.com," and he knew the site, and he goes,
Did he?
"There were a lot of people drinking at the party," and he goes, "Oh boy, you're going to have a field day tonight." And then, I would be talking to some agents, and they'd point to this one female agent and said, "She's going to be in Tickle the Wire pretty soon," meaning she's going to get in trouble. But we've done, we've been around for a long time now. My main focus became more Deadline Detroit, because when we had more money in it, but we post a couple stories a day. And in the beginning, I was breaking stories. I broke a story about the FBI head of the FBI Washington field office cheating on an exam. It was an exam everybody had to take, and it was actually on a computer. It was open book, but it took still 2.5, 3 hours to take the test. And him and his top people were finishing in about 10 minutes. And so the FBI caught on to that. But so anyways, I've been around since 2008. And it's really right now, it's a public service. I hire somebody who actually used to be at the Free Press, now at the Metro Times. So he posts a couple stories a day. And then I weigh in, and I send out a newsletter once a week, which anybody can sign up for a free newsletter there if you go on the website. So,
well, I don't know who that agent is from 2008 or 2009. I clearly have no idea who that agent is, but I graduated from the FBI Academy in 2008. And
wow.
It sounds like maybe somebody else local, maybe heading to the couple guys, maybe heading to the FBI Academy this summer.
Yeah. Actually going this summer to class 291. Myself, there's actually neighboring deputy chief from Brownstown that's going to be going as well. So we'll be knowing a few people there. But yeah, leaving in the next month.
So those of us that have already done it are always excited about the guys that get a chance to go, because it's very rare that you get an opportunity to go to the FBI Academy for 10 weeks.
Right.
So nobody will be chief. You'll have a deputy chief that's running the show. So, but congratulations.
How long are you going for, Chief?
10 weeks. It's a 10-week program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
it's serious.
it'll be interesting. It'll be exciting.
So I'm going to shift gears for just a minute and have the chief talk about, there's a bond. So let's face it, everybody thinks they're overtaxed, and the city of Trenton has decided to move forward with a bond to get a new police station, fire station, and do some other work around town. You want to talk a little bit about that, Mike? And
yeah, I can mention it. I can share information on it, what's called the Fire, Police, and Municipal Building Improvement Bond for the city of Trenton. It would include consolidating the 2 fire departments to 1 and building a new police station as well, along with other major renovations to bring other city buildings and facilities up to date. But for a police department, it's very important for us. I was writing an article right before I came here. Our building was built in 1927. So we're 97 years old. And, according to the IACP, the standard life of a police facility is roughly 50 years old. And we, through maintenance and through the work of even prior chiefs, administrations, we've had that building last 47 years longer than the standard. But, and taxpayers wonder, is it better? Can we just renovate? Can we do this? Well, we've been doing that for years in trying to maintain that. But we can't put the Band-Aid on anymore. We had a complete structural assessment done by the collaborative, a company that just said we can't do it anymore. There's roofs that are leaking, raw sewage coming up from the floor,
Oh, wow.
foundation cracks. It's
never good.
it's seen its life, and we're putting it in front of the residents and just trying to give them the information to make a informed choice.
So if you're a Trenton resident and you're watching this, if you don't see it today, or you see it tomorrow, or you see it in a week, support your police and your firefighters. What they do for the city is amazing. And we'll move on.
So this is the building right here. Am I correct here?
That's the building, and I can see it as I look down the street. We're only about a block away right now, but yeah, that was built in 1927 to house the city hall, the court, the library, the police station, the fire station. It was never really built as a solid police station, but we've assumed that and taken that building for the last 97 years.
And so do you want to move into a whole new building? Is that the idea?
So we're looking at new construction in hopefully a centralized location, maybe the Thornton West area. And for the fire department, that's really important for their response times. But it's different for the police, just a centrally located building. But with all the building codes and policing's changed a lot over the last 97 years, just like many things have, and it's just not conducive to operations anymore.
And is that building salvageable? Because it looks like it'd be a cool place for lofts or restaurants or whatever. Is the idea is to just knock it down?
Well, that would be up to the city administration at that time, if there was somebody looking for commercial property or not. That's all part of it.
Right. I see. That's interesting. It looks like a very cool building. I don't know how it is inside. I imagine it's
well, you can go on the city website and see you could see the presentation I gave to council on June 3rd of our building assessment, if you want to see the inside of the building.
My initial reaction is Detroit in Black and White should be building a brewery, some kind of a brewery and restaurant there at the old police and fire hall.
Wow.
Great.
But after the chief talking about how bad it is, I'm not sure we can make it work. So Adolph was good. Adolph has anybody seen Adolph? Do we need to put a APB out for him?
You know what? I talked to him this morning, but I would like to talk about until Adolph. I don't think it looks like he's not going to show up. He's AWOL. But tonight is I actually on Monday I had a piece in the New York Times on the Detroit train station and sort of the impact on the community in Mexican Town and Corktown and the reaction in the neighborhood. And so you can read it in the New York Times. It's an interesting story because it's what Ford did was amazing. I mean, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, the total figure is nearly $1 billion, but that $1 billion also includes they're creating a 30-acre campus. They have the old book depository right next door, which they revamped. They've totally made into a beautiful building. There's supposed to be 97 startups and about 600 employees. So that's going to be part of the campus. And the train station, the idea is to have thousands of employees, like some from Ford Motor Company, and then some who are just businesses and startups who they're preferring, but I think not exclusive, to have companies that are in the mobility, whether it's outside of cars, some type of mobility products or transportation. And so the idea is that I took a tour of, here's one of the inside shots of the building. I took a tour on May 16th. It's a beautiful building. I mean, they did not spare any details. There was a front part of the facade where it needed replacing, and it was limestone. And the station was built in 1913. So they went back to the original quarry in Indiana to get the stone. The quarry had been closed since the 1980s. They reopened the quarry, got 600 tons of limestone, hauled it back, and they had to do some sculpting on it or whatever. They spent 450 hours on that just to make sure the facade matched the rest of the facade. They took clocks, they had pictures, they reconstructed things, they had light fixtures. They either reconstructed some of the floor is the original floor. I mean, the marble floor, they polished it, and they did save little sections where there was graffiti the station was closed for 36 years, and there were graffiti artists in there. and they saved some of that to sort of honor that part of the history of the station. The idea is to put retail on the first floor. There's no retail there right now. And then they also want to have a hotel on the station is 3 stories high, and then there's a connecting like office tower, 15 stories high. The first 3 or 4 floors, they plan on having a hotel, with the rest office, space, and then, which will be interesting. I mean, it's a cool thing. And if you have a business, you have a startup, there's a lot of collaboration that can go on when you walk around and you say, well, what kind of business are you in? And they'll say this, and they'll say, well, we have this kind of business. Maybe we can do business together. I think Ford is hoping to do some of that, and also, probably cherry pick some of the talent that is there. So, and tonight Ford has put so much money in. I mean, they went to New York to talk. They've been promoting this thing. In March, the New York Times flew me to New York to help with the interview with the Ford people, promoting that everything was off the record. They embargoed all these photos, all the interviews were embargoed till Monday, June 3rd. So they've been very controlling. And then the same thing with the concert tonight. You've got Diana Ross, Jack Black, Big Sean. Eminem is producing, and I think he's expected to perform as well. They hired Eminem's supposed to be the executive producer, but they also hired a group that has produced the Super Bowl and the Grammys. So Ford has not spared a dime in this whole thing. So it'll be interesting. See what happens.
Can we get a commercial?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Let's do a couple commercials here, and then...
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com.
Hey, Alan, can you tell us a little bit about who you interviewed for your article? I know you talked to Bob Roberts and some other people, right?
I did. I interviewed Bob Roberts, who is the owner of McShane's at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull, where we do the show on Saturday. And it's interesting. I mean, from Bob's standpoint, and the story got cut. I mean, I handed in probably 2,100 words. I think it was 1,500 words. So some of the stuff Bob said got cut out. But basically, he was saying, I mean, he thinks he was able, they've tried to connect with the community. So they gave people tours early, and he got, he saw the station. He thought it was gorgeous. But he said they're hoping to get business, and they're getting a little business from next door to where the book depository is. He says he's catered a couple of events and people have come for drinks. He says, but his rent has also gone up 30%. And he says a lot of people's rents have gone up because of Ford. And so he's concerned that, while business may go up, the rent's going to go up, expenses go up. And he says you can only pass on so much of the expenses to people. And so, but I also spoke to some real estate people who said, the value of vacant land had skyrocketed once the word got out that Ford was buying up land. Rents have gone up. I interviewed Mayor Duggan, said, in Corktown, right after the announcement of Ford, he says some of the people's rents went up $100 right away. And he said that prompted him they've got a $30 million grant from HUD to build 550 affordable units, which sometimes affordable isn't always so affordable. But and then I talked to people in Mexican Town. I talked to a woman who owns a restaurant, and she said she's been bombarded by real estate agents for not only her home. She said that was worth $35,000 10 years ago. She said they're telling her $300,000 now. Her business, which is a standalone business right on West Verner, she said she was offered $800,000, and she said no. The guy said, "Well, how much then?" She said, "It's not for sale. I'm not going anywhere." So there's a little bit, but I also I went to Honeybee Market there, interviewed Bob Warfield, who actually I didn't, I just randomly picked him at the market, but he used to be, I think, the general manager over at WDIV, but now he lives in Southwest, and he says it's great that the land values are finally going to go up, that this monstrous thing has finally been refurbished. So it's a little bit of a mix of people who are excited. The lead anecdote is a guy who's the manager of he's the assistant general manager of Armando's Mexican restaurant there on West Verner, and he became interested. He was from Mexico originally, came here when he was 9 years old, living in Southwest. Didn't really think a lot about the train station. And then he saw Eminem in 2009, did a music video called Beautiful, and it had the inside of the train station, which looked horrific inside, except it still looked cool, but it was all vandalized and windows were smashed out. And he said he had an interest in it after that, and he is going to the concert tonight. So it's going to be interesting, the impact. I mean, Ford says it's going to be 3 to 5 years before everything really comes online. The hotel is going to it's probably 2-3 years off. They want to have a destination restaurant inside there. All the employees, who knows how many they're going to have in them. And it's interesting. I asked the CEO of the train station, I said, "Well, is Ford plan on putting its name on there?" And he said, "No, it's just going to be Michigan Central Station." And so there's all different speculation. I talked to different people, and one person says, "Well, maybe Ford's worried if the project sort of goes south, they don't want their name, sitting there." But other people said, well, they were taking this beautiful historical structure and they didn't want to cheapen it by putting a logo on this very historical structure. So I don't know, but it'll be interesting.
In there if you're a resident, if you're somebody that wants to go check it out, will it be open to the public soon, or is it?
Well, right for the next, they were giving, I think they gave away 60,000 tickets for tours for after today. I think for the next till June 16th. I think you're going to be able to sign up, go on their site. They're going to have places where you can take tours. I think it's going to be primarily on weekends for the summer, because I think they're going to be working on putting in retail space. So they're going to have maybe times, and you can go on an app on your phone and it'll sort of narrate what's going on in the station. So I think in the summer, I think you're going to have to go to the Michigan Central Station website to find out how to get in there. But in the fall, I think it's going to be open to everyone. And and they're trying to do a balance.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there'll be coffee shops.
Oh.
Can you hear me? There'll be coffee shops and all that kind of stuff. But they're trying not to put too many restaurants in there, because they don't want to compete with too many of the restaurants in Corktown and Mexican Town. They're hoping that to spread the wealth around. So can you guys hear me okay? Or
We can now. Yes, you were locked out for a second, but we're back.
Okay. I think you guys are, I don't know if it's your end or mine, but
Might be
anyways,
the wind.
yeah, it could
It's
be.
windy.
So it's I mean, look, that area it was growing anyways with or without the station, but I think certainly the station is gonna move things forward, expedite growth there more. And really, look, Detroit has so much land, so much area to develop, that things can just keep pushing west down Michigan Avenue, pushing north on Corktown, on Trumbull, further north. So, and
Well,
then
how
some
about
of
the
the other,
area?
some of
The
the
area
other
by
areas.
Detroit Institute. Yeah. Detroit
Yeah,
Institute
well,
of Bagel.
oh yeah, well, I was just going to say that Core City. I was just going to
Core
mention that.
City.
That's, I think they're hoping that some of the development. There's a little bit of development going on there, anyways, but they're hoping this sparks more development. I mean, look, not everybody's going to want to live. Who works there is going to want to live right in the immediate area. So there are people living all around the city from some of these other, the startups in the other building. I think you'll see a lot of workers ending up living in the city. I mean, Corktown is going to get, I think, it's going to be very expensive, except for the older buildings, the older flats are going to be more affordable. And some of the landlords, I think the distinction is some of the new landlords, the ones who are building these new buildings, their prices aren't going to be cheap. But some of the other landlords who own these old, duplexes or whatever, some are just looking for stable tenants. They're not looking to turn over some of the newer buildings, they're more expensive. People leave after, a couple of years. So, it'll be interesting. I mean, there's a ton of restaurants there in Corktown, and, there is a parking structure that they've built behind the station. And I can't remember, maybe 1,200 parking spaces. So we'll see how congested it gets there as well. I mean, some people are concerned even in Corktown that it's going to lose some of its small town feel, but we'll see.
Well, we had hoped today to take a history lesson with Adolf about the criminal justice system, and I was hoping that the chief could talk. So we're going to probably have to roll him back around. We're hoping to get not only our police chief, Chief Hawkins, but the fire chief and the mayor of Trenton too in the near future, if they get a chance to talk a little bit about the bond. Again, I'm just going to reiterate, I spent nearly 28 years for the city, and it's always hard to take money out of your pocket, but sometimes it's the right thing.
Well, let me ask you, Chief, can we be, and I know you don't want to tip your hand too much, but can we be expecting some real developments in the cold case that you've been working on with this woman, Tanisha?
I hope so. I think our next interview is going to be a very important interview for us. That person's already seen the show. They know what's going on, and we're going to touch base again tomorrow and set up another interview here for the next week or two. But we should definitely get some movement.
I think people are starting to fold a little bit from what I'm hearing, and I'm
And here we see on this wanted post, people can call 1-800-SPEAK-UP or call you.
They could call direct if they wanted to at 734-676-7095.
I'm sorry,
734-676-7095. That would be a direct line right to us, or they can contact Crime Stoppers. And those flyers will be going out within the next week or two down in that area.
If I knew something, I wanted to collect the check, I would collect the check. Right now would be the time to collect your check instead of letting it go and someone else get the check.
$2,500 from Crime Stoppers.
That's a lot of
out
money.
there right now.
That's a lot of money.
$2,500, and people who call are worried about being identified as whatever. What type of protections do they get in terms of anonymity and?
Well, with Crime Stoppers, they can do that, and a lot of it depends on information that they give. We'd have to work with them on what that is, at least to verify information first before we do anything like that. But we'll take all tips, and we want them to keep coming in.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, I think. What do you say, Jim?
I think we should wrap it up.
All right, let's wrap it up. All right, thanks a lot. Saturday we have in Detroit in Black and White, we have WDIV's Paula Tutman. She's one of the 4 on-air personalities who's taking a buyout after many years with the station, and she'll be talking about the buyout, her career, and what's next. But that should be interesting. And I believe we're going to have attorney David Lee him and his brother Matt Lee, his twin, were in New York during the verdict of the Trump verdict, and he's going to talk a little bit about the reaction there in New York City when he was there. So,
And I'm hoping to reach out to Sherry Gay Danyogo. She endorsed Murray Waters for Congress, and we're hoping, if not this week, next week probably will be a better time to get her on and see where she stands on it. Put her on the spot. But.
Great. Okay. Well, Chief, thanks so much. Best of luck in the case.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You'll keep us posted on developments there, and we'll see everybody Saturday.